This is terrible. Okay, take 4. Hey there, folks. How you doing today? Welcome back to the channel, and please bear with the background racket that you are going to hear throughout this production. There is stuff going on outside. We're not going to let it stand in the way of the fun that we have in store for you here. Also, it's hot. I just came in from the range. I haven't even put my camera away yet. It's still out. Hot out there today. I was sweating. All I did was wash my face and change my shirt. So pardon me if I glisten. You get what you paid for, folks. Out here on the table in front of me is a platform that is near and dear to me. For those of you that have been following along here on the channel for a while, no doubt you're going to recognize this as my Kel-Tec Sub 2000 Gen 3 that we picked up last year and have done a lot of neat things with. I've got some videos on the channel showcasing what we've done with it. If you want to check those out, feel free. I'll try to remember to put the link in the description below. But as much fun as we have with this thing, it is not the centerpiece of today's video. Rather, it is just the platform, the vehicle, if you will, that we are going to use to showcase this optic that's sitting on top of it. Now, I'm not a real big fan of unboxing segments. It's kind of a 50-50. I've actually ran polls on it in the past. Some of you like them, some of you don't. So I'm going to run one right now. I think it's about 4 minutes long. If you don't want to watch that, scrub forward until you see something other than me talking with my hands. Just know that if you want to know the specs on the optic, that's where I mention them at, and I'm not going to reiterate it in another portion of the video. So without further ado, the unboxing. All right, folks, so here we go with the unboxing portion for the Dalbinowl Noctua R red dot optic. This is a 3-minute of angle red dot. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation, but I will say that the owl portion at the end probably is owl because they have a nice owl as their logo. So you'll see it's on all sides of the box as well as it appears like it's on top of the optic. Anyway, this is the Dalbinowl Noctua R red dot in its box. We're going to do the unboxing right now. I know there's some of you that don't care for this, but there's some of you that really want to see it, so I'll show it to you. The packaging is actually quite nice, which I'm a little indifferent to that as I plan to throw it away. There's that owl again. Nice foam padding. We've got a rather concise looking little manual that came with it. A lens cleaning claw. A 2032 battery. A tool with a Torx on 1 inch and a flat tip on the other. No doubt for mounting and optic adjustment. The optic itself, as well as one of those do not eat packets. Now, I will tell you that this optic weighs 7.5 ounces with the battery. It's really kind of heavy. I didn't expect it to be as heavy as it is. For whatever reason, I was thinking it was going to be smaller than what we're actually looking at here. So here it is, the Noctua R. Got the owl on top of it. Now, I just took this out of the house, which has air conditioning on, and I'm out here in the studio that's rather warm and muggy today. And you'll notice, I don't know if you can see it there in the camera. I'll try to hold it up so you can. The lens on this thing has kind of fogged up. Now, that is a thing that happens with red dot optics, and in my opinion, is the weak link of an optic like this. But it's not anything that happens to this one that doesn't happen to the rest of them. So the optic features a 3-minute of angle red dot with a shake awake feature. What does that mean? Well, it means that they claim the optic has 50,000 hours of battery life. That would be at the lowest setting, and that is by means of the optic turning itself off after 4 minutes with a battery saving feature. We will be testing that here in a little while. Once the optic is sit inactive for several minutes, it will turn itself off, and then with a little shake, it'll turn itself back on. As I mentioned before, a CR 2032 battery. That's nice. The ones that take the smaller 1632 battery, those or the 1628, whatever it is, you have a tendency to have to replace those more often. The 2032 just holds a little bit more juice. The Optic is claimed to be parallax free with unlimited eye relief. I'll let you know what it looks like out on the range when we get there. There are 10 different brightness levels. I would assume the bottom 2 are for night vision use. They usually are. I can't say for certain. The size of the window is 30 millimeter. I'm assuming that's talking about side to side. That would look to be about right. And the adjustment here on top for the up and down and on the right hand side for windage is in a 1 minute of angle adjustment, which means that for every click, you're going to get 1 inch at 100 yards. I mentioned before, up to 50,000 hours of battery life with that auto shutoff feature. IPX7 waterproof rating. What does that mean? Well, they claim it as being waterproof. We're going to test it. We're going to do our submersion test with this that we've done on several optics in the past, because this is the first optic we're testing for this company. But suffice it to say, my take on waterproof ratings on optics like this is it's probably okay in the rain. I wouldn't go swimming with it. And as I mentioned, 7.5 ounces on the weight, so that is a little bit of a chunk. The MSRP for this optic is $119. But if you go over to their Amazon page right now, you'll see that they have a 30% off coupon code that you can redeem, which will get this, at least in my area here in Texas, down to $91 out the door if you have Amazon Prime. So not a bad price given what it is. So hopefully you made it through the unboxing portion without any trauma. Now, for those of you that have been following along with the way that I test optics here in the past, you'll know that for a while I was giving them all an abuse test before I would start using them, and then I had kind of gotten over that because I got tired of tearing up my guns. But as this is the first optic from a new company that we're testing out here, I felt obligated to go ahead and run it through some of the torture testing. Now, as I had mentioned in the unboxing portion, IPX7 waterproof rating, we're actually going to test that out right now. I'm going to drop it in some water and leave it there for a half an hour, and let's see what happens. So here again is that optic, and I'll try to turn it around there. Yeah, I can see that red dot on the camera. Hopefully you can see that too. But anyway, we have the unit fired up. I've got the battery installed on it, and now we're going to drop it down into some water and let it sit for half an hour and see what happens. And our half hour is up, so we'll pick the optic out of the water and looking for that light. There it is. I don't know if you can see that in there. I guess there was some water like sitting on the lens that was kind of distorting the refraction, but there it is, right where it needs to be. So you'll see there that the optic did make it through the water test, and I tossed it over into the freezer. I'm going to leave it in there for about an hour or so, and once it gets frozen up good and solid, we'll take it out and we're going to do some other stuff with it. So now we'll take this thing over here and we'll chuck it in the freezer.
Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Alright, this thing should be good and frozen now. It looks frozen. There you can see that red dot bouncing around in there. We've drop tested several optics in the past. I have gotten past trying to do it to optics that are mounted to my firearms because it damages the guns. You know, it bangs them up and leaves marks on them and everything. So I went ahead and did it to the optic there. I threw it across the yard at that tree. So now I know that many of you have come to expect the bounce it off the tree test that I do with this. So here, let me switch hands so I can do it first person shooter style here. Yeah. Ah, there it goes. Let's see what we got. Okay, did the frozen optic survive bouncing off of a tree? Well, let's see. That lens is really frozen up in there. Yep, there it is. I see the red dot, folks. It survived being frozen and bouncing off of a tree. And of course, now that we got it all dirty outside and it's frozen, let's run it under some hot water to get all that dirt off of it. And there you'll see we still have a bright red dot smiling at us. I forget the first time I threw an optic at the tree, a bunch of you loved it, and so the tree has become a staple with optic testing. But this is the same optic here. I'll show you a close-up of some of the damage that it incurred. And just to show you the reality here, there's a scratch, there's a nick on it there, and there's a scuff on the side of it there, and all of that occurred from bouncing it off of that tree. And throughout all that, the optic still seemed to work just fine. But I know some of you are saying, well, yeah, maybe it's still lighting up, but is it going to hold a zero? Is it going to work when it's mounted to a weapon? Well, I'm glad you asked. We actually took this out to the range today and put it through its paces. You'll see there that first little clip was when I first had the optic mounted on the rifle and I took it out to get a baseline. Now the target was set up at about 25 yards and you could see there that we were hitting low and to the right. So I made some quick adjustments to the optic. And you'll notice that it was still hitting kind of low and to the right. So I had to get a little more aggressive with my adjustment and I got it more or less where I wanted it. So once I had it more or less sighted in, I shot a few 3-shot groups just to make sure that there wasn't any shift in point of impact. And then we took it out to 50 yards and started playing with some of the steel targets that they have out at Trinity Armory in Cleveland, Texas. So as you saw there, if I was doing my part, it actually functioned really well. And bear in mind, I was shooting cheap steel-cased Monarch ammo. I have a bunch of that, so I was just feeding it to it for one thing, to make sure it would feed it, but then also to use it up because, you know, it's, as far as low rent ammo goes, that's pretty close to the bottom shelf. Now, with that in mind, I'm not planning on carrying this thing with cheap steel cased ammo for any kind of defensive work, so I put a quality hollow point that I plan to carry in this in the future in it and tested it out. And more or less the point of impact was about the same. And so then I ran a magazine of those through to test for function. What are my final thoughts on this? Well, I know some stuff about the company that makes this that I can't share with you, but suffice it to say, given who it was that contacted me with it and what they told me about it, there is no doubt in my mind that Dalbinowl is going to be making a quality optic. Now, this one is rather large. It's large and it's heavy. What does that mean? Well, in terms of technology, circuit boards, stuff like that, the bigger, heavier technology tends to be a little cheaper than some of the smaller, more compact kind of stuff, right? So the technology that's going into some of these little reflex pistol sights is on a lot smaller circuit boards, and the price is reflective of that. They cost a little more than something like this. As I mentioned in the unboxing portion, $119 is the Amazon price on it. However, right now they have a little redeem me code that you can put on there, save 30%. And in Texas, where I live, you can get this out the door for like $91, which is a huge deal. You saw me abuse it. You saw me get it wet. It didn't seem to affect function. Nothing broke on it. I took it to the range and shot about 150 rounds through it with no discernible shift in point of impact. Making the adjustments was real easy. It's very positive. You could do it with a case head if you needed to. If you forgot to take a wrench out there with you, the little screws on top of it there are very forgiving in that regard. For a $90 optic that you're going to mount on top of something like this little Kel-Tec or a modern sporting rifle platform, I would say you'd be hard pressed to find anything in this price range that was any better. It really is kind of good. I think the biggest drawback, and again, for something like this Kel-Tec, would be the weight. At 7.5 ounces, it does add a considerable amount of weight to this platform. So if you were going to carry this in a backpack or something like that, take into consideration that ounces translate to pounds when you've been carrying them for a long distance. Hey there, folks. Thanks for watching today's production. Before you leave, let me ask you for just a moment of your time. I'm not asking you to buy anything. I'm not asking for anything directly from you other than a few more moments of your time. If you look out here on the table in front of me, you'll see the Bear Creek BC 10mm. There's several of you that have seen the review that we did on this platform here on the channel. You might also recall the review we did on the BC Grizzly, and also we've reviewed a couple of their other products that they have sent out to us for the purpose of review. Now, last time I spoke to the folks over there at Bear Creek, they said in order to keep sending stuff free gratis for us to review on this platform, they're going to need to show that they're getting traffic to their point of interest from this platform. And in order to do that, I need y'all to jump down to the pinned comment on this video. Check out that link that is right there. Just go over to their website, and by clicking on it and checking it out, it'll show that people are watching what I'm putting down over here and they are following up on it. I'm not asking you to buy anything. You don't have to buy anything, but it'll just show the folks over at Bear Creek that their investment in advertising dollars is well spent. If you do that for me, I'd appreciate it. I would consider it a personal favor. And until next time, thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.